I'm not necessarily proud to admit this, but the truth is there was indeed once a past version of me who really didn't know how to accept more than the bare minimum in love and relationships, in work and my career, in how I spoke to myself, in the dreams that I let myself envision, just generally in what I was willing to settle for. And I wasn't accepting the bare minimum because I wanted to. I was accepting the bare minimum because I really didn't know how not to. And I know I'm not the only one. If you clicked on this video, chances are high you are in that same position where you just keep accepting breadcrumbs. So you settle for being chosen last. You settle for pain and disappointment instead of love. You settle for being tolerated instead of being celebrated. And somewhere along the line, you started to think that this is normal, and even worse, that this is all you deserve. But it's not normal. It's just familiar to you. And what is familiar often comes from what is unhealed. So at some point, we all have to choose heal or stay addicted to the bare minimum. So today, let's talk about how to actually choose option one so that you can truly move closer to a life that actually feels fulfilling, not just tolerable and survivable, but actually truly fulfilling. As always, if you enjoy my content, feel free to support it in some way, such as liking, commenting, or subscribing. Your support is so appreciated. And as always, you can download my free 12-minute anxiety release guided meditation in the link below. So I guess the first question is, how do we get here? How do we as wonderful, amazing, beautiful, intelligent, smart humans, how do we get to a point where we are genuinely accepting nothing more than the bare minimum and often even less? From my experience, it's a cycle. And once this cycle starts, it just keeps going until you actively choose to break it. And I like to call this the self-betrayal loop. This cycle starts the minute you find yourself in a situation where you are accepting less than what you actually deserve and what would truly make you happy. Now, whether you are staying in the situation because you can't get out, or because it's familiar, or because you think it'll get better, or because you are afraid to lose whatever you would have to let go of, for whatever reason, you are now in a situation where you are accepting less than what you truly deserve. Now, even though you might not want to admit it to yourself, some part of you deep down, even if it's really, really deep down, feels the pain of you being in a situation where you are essentially devalued. So you feel the pain of you having to abandon yourself and your own boundaries in this situation. And then comes the self-blame. Because often what happens is, instead of having compassion with yourself for what you are experiencing, you turn all that pain and you direct it inwards and you blame yourself. So you start thinking things like, what is wrong with me for experiencing this? I guess I am the problem. Maybe I'm just not lovable. Why can't I leave? If I can't leave, then I guess this is all I deserve. All that self-blame lowers your self-worth even more. And now that your self-worth is low, you keep settling. And that's the loop. It's a cycle between self-blame and settling, and self-blame and settling. And then it just continues. And that's the trap. None of us wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm just going to start accepting less than what I deserve in every area of my life. That just sounds so fun. That is not how it works. It happens gradually. Over time, there were enough moments where your needs were not met, where you were not heard, where your boundaries were crossed, and slowly you start to adjust. You become smaller, you stop asking for more, and you start to believe that the bare minimum is actually all there is for you. So the self-blame and the shrinking yourself and that cycle is one shitty part of the equation. But I think another really sad part is that once you have been in enough situations where you have accepted the bare minimum, at some point you don't only know how to cope with those situations, you actually start thinking that this is truly all you deserve. That's when you find yourself in a relationship with someone that is truly not making you happy, but you won't leave because some part of you thinks, well, this is all I deserve. I mean, I should be grateful even. I'm also not an easy person to love, so who am I to ask for more? Or you're in a job position that is truly making you miserable, but again, you won't leave because you're thinking, well, this is all I deserve. I should be grateful. I mean, I'm also not really that good at what I do, so I can be glad someone's hiring me. But this is not gratitude that you have become good at. This is simply self-abandonment. And also, the more you stay in situations where you are accepting the bare minimum, the more you lose your sense of what's truly possible. So you don't just stop asking life for more, you actually start thinking that more is not even meant for you. That's when people start saying things like, oh, I guess real, genuine love is just not in the cards for me. Or I guess I'm just not one of those people who becomes successful. What you think you deserve has started to match what you have experienced in the past, even though your past is not a reflection of your worth or what you truly deserve or what is truly possible for you. Your past is only a reflection of what you have been through. Getting to a point in your life where you realize that you do deserve more is not easy, and it's a journey because it is not easy to break a habit when you have built an entire life and identity and relationships around that. So something that really helped me on that journey was to focus less on what is in front of me right now and how it's a mess and how I can't manage to fix it, and instead simply start asking myself the question, what would it look like to start taking more choices in my life that my future self would thank me for? So your future self is the version of you who knows what she wants. It's the version of you who doesn't settle. It's the version of you who wakes up in a life that doesn't constantly drain her, but feels fulfilling. Now, think of that version of you as actually real and not just a fantasy. And then ask yourself, what would she want me to do right now? So would my future self want me to reply to that text from that guy who only reaches out to me when he's bored? Would my future self want me to stay in this job that is actually draining me only because it feels safe and comfortable? Would my future self want me to keep putting off my dreams this year because I keep saying next year is going to be a better time? I really found this type of thinking so helpful on my journey because, again, breaking a habit when you have built an entire life and identity around it is not easy. But when you start basing your choices on you having these conversations with your future self, it takes you away from what is happening right now and how hard it is and how you can't get out of it. And it pulls you towards where you actually want to go. So your future self and the conversations you are having with her become your compass in a way. So really think of your future self as a real person who is currently looking at you and your life right now, waiting for you to remember that you are allowed to want more. You are allowed to expect more. You are allowed to ask for more, and you are allowed to choose differently.